At the start of my career, I knew I was going to be famous. Despite what everyone said and all the wisdom said, I knew I would be different. So what happened? Everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Tape, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke.
Ding!
Yay!
It's me again.
It's her again. We're back together. We tried a different backdrop here in our studio.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this works. Okay, Brooke. So let's get real.
Yeah.
But seriously, we are kind of doing this topic off the cuff, and I teased something in the intro, mainly that at the beginning of my career, when I'm in my first acting class here in Atlanta, back in 2001, I'm thinking, I'm gonna be famous. Yeah, it's destiny. I'm very talented, and that even though my teachers and the books and all the wisdom said that no, you won't. First of all, it'll take you 20 years to become good, which is what Sanford Meisner said. And I'm like, no, but I'm different. Does that resonate with you?
Oh yeah, I was different out of the womb.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you went even further back.
Yeah,
I'm just going back 24
No,
years.
I'm going back to even in elementary school days where it just felt like all of the performing that I had been doing as a child, it was very precocious. I kind of like to call it like hands on the hip acting, where you're like, golly.
Yes.
And you think that that's really, really good, and people praise you for it, and you continue with like high school shows or even community theater, but you still have a very presentational aspect to it. But because I was getting rewarded for that behavior, I'm like, sure, this is it.
That's a whole topic unto itself, which is, and like, for instance, we just saw a middle school production of Our Goddaughter last night. So fresh in our minds, this idea of kids in that sort of teen age range, getting some of them their first experience on a stage, and of course you want to applaud that effort because man, they've been rehearsing for months, and that hard work shows, and you want to reward them for that, but also based on where we are, decades past that, and seeing that for those little ones, there's a long journey for them to become what we might call professional actors. And so, of course, you don't want to shove that in the face of a 12-year-old that you are so far away from your goals as an actor, right? You want to encourage, but then, like you said, I think it can falsely inflate the ego at a young age if we then take that praise and if we either continue to get it and maybe it starts to become unhelpful until maybe we get a teacher that puts us in our place. Did you ever have a teacher that did that for you?
Oh yeah. Going to a university in a program, I got a BFA where basically they strip you down of every habit that you've ever developed up until then so that you can build it up. But then therein lies the rub, right? Are you building up your skills to match the appropriateness and approval of your teacher? Or are you finding your own identity in that work and understanding that what you're training for is individuality, and yet again you're kind of given a lot of other habits to have to break.
Yeah, and I think we can both say that those early teachers did the right thing of stripping us of maybe the artificiality of what we thought. Right? That I love the arm. Is it arms akimbo? Is that what this is?
Sure, it is now.
Sort of
I just say hands on hips.
Yeah, hands on hips. That maybe at least stripped us of that notion of what acting was. But then you're right. At some point, depending on the style of the class or the teacher, you're eventually acting for them to get their approval, and you might kind of be right back, in a pickle. But then because we sort of pre-interviewed each other. Talk about sort of when you finally do break through and get the approval of someone who's now paying you to act. I think you have the experience of like one of the first commercials that you booked. Talk about what that did to your ego.
Yes, I played a physical therapist. Not really. It's so funny because all my friends are like, "You're not a physical therapist," but of course, at the bottom, physical therapist for an item. I won't reveal, even though it was a really good product. But I remember being rewarded on set because the director said the reason why we booked you is because you were so natural. And yet, while I was on set, I started getting that feeling of like, I have to perform. So even in the midst of this performing, the director had to kind of put me at my ease and say, this is the reason, not because you have to do anything more. We booked you because of what you did. And then, of course, afterwards, I'm like, I've arrived. I've arrived. I can quit my job. I'm
Working
going
as like a server.
I was working as a server at Murphy's in Virginia Highlands. It's a great place to go, by the way.
We are not sponsored by Murphy's in any way, but unless they want to.
Sure. I really do think they're a great restaurant. But I was like, yeah, I'm out. I think I said I'm gonna take a few weeks off, and they're like, great. And I'm not getting paid right away, and yet for some reason in my mind I had arrived, and therefore I was going to be the next it factor.
Ooh, the next it factor. That sounds like a new show coming to your local network affiliate. And I love that you brought up that it probably didn't even pay right away because it was most likely a non-union.
Correct.
Yeah, so non-union. In those non-union days, for me as well, it's very common to not get paid for up to 90 days, sometimes 6 months, despite your agent trying to pound on the door of their accounting department, but also not wanting to burn a bridge, especially if it was a close connection. So it could be 4, 5, 6 months before that several $100s entered your bank account.
Exactly.
And so, quitting your job or having the fantasy of quitting your job quickly becomes a reality of like, oh, maybe not. And I know at that job or just in your sort of life as a server, you met other actors who actually went through with that, if I'm not mistaken. Talk about that.
Oh, yeah. It actually wasn't at my job, but it was someone who was with my agency at the time. And we were talking, and he had just booked a day player. He, again, like we all do, we get to this point where we book our first on-camera gig, and we're thinking, this is it. Everything's going to just kind of go in this sequential order. I'm going to keep booking. I'm going to keep booking to the point where I'm a consistent working actor, and no longer do I have to work my day job or part-time job or career that I've been working at for years on end, where I've developed a pension and health program through this company. This person, sadly, it broke my heart because he quit his job. His full pension and health went away because a day player role came across his plate. He shot it, and he thought that was it. And I think a lot of other things fell apart in his life because of that choice. Yeah. I come from a long line of believers that your values equal your choices, equal your consequences. And I think that he valued this industry. He made choices, and the consequence of it was not actually understanding how this industry rolls out in our lives.
Wow. That is a sort of a sobering story that I think a lot of actors can at least sympathize with, that feeling of, well, if I book this, we hear terms like momentum. And if you, I almost rolled my eyes because if you have a manager, and a lot of actors get managers way too early in their careers, spoiler alert, Brooke and I don't have managers at this stage in our career. And, but so many times I've talked to actors who get that manager prematurely. And so then they got this voice in their ear of like, we gotta, ride this momentum. And it's like, there are certain stages in your career where momentum is a thing, and where you can parlay potentially one success into the next. But certainly in this day and age of NDAs and not being able to talk about projects and not being able to post, even though people continue to post those set chairs, where I'm on set and before the project is aired or come out. Actors can get just sort of wrapped up in the sexiness of this industry and the allure of this role will beget the next role, will beget the next role, and I'll get this momentum and I will shoot up into the stratosphere. When it's like, if you do the research on a lot of the celebrities and how they got to sort of that tipping point, a lot of times actors don't want to do that research, and there's a lot of actors that have a different last name, but are born into Hollywood royalty. And so they sort of had the carpet laid out for them. They had to develop the skills.
Sure.
Who you know will get you there. What you know will keep you there. I'm a firm believer in that. So if they didn't have the skills, they wouldn't continue to find success. But certainly the door is open because of the nepotism or the family sort of tree that was already there. Or it was true just luck. I think Charlize Theron was like one of those classic discovered by a talent agent in a mall or something like that. Someone can put in the comments below what the actual story is. But then the third thing that can happen, like Jim Carrey, was a 20-year overnight success. So think about that. Overnight, he becomes famous, but not really. He had been slogging away, putting the hours in for 2 decades before he breaks out in Ace Ventura. And he was my idol when I was in high school, so I know a lot about his story. And so I think a lot of actors, they think that first commercial booking and that first industrial, that first TV show co-star one day on set is somehow like the carpet's going to be not only laid out, but infinite in front of them. And where did you go from there? Where does an actor go from there in terms of maybe once they realize like, oh, this did not parlay into my next job?
Yeah, it's pretty sobering when you realize that, okay, great, I booked this role, and then you don't book anything for another year, maybe. You continue to audition, and you don't know whether, at this point in my career, when I'd moved to Atlanta, everything was pretty much on tape at that point. I mean, we were doing in-persons, and you can kind of get the sense in the room. But what I got the sense about is, and I had a come to Jesus meeting with my agent because I realized I was a hobbyist actor. I realized that even though my goals and all of my desires were to be a household name, my behavior was very hobbyist. I did not want to take classes just because I was like, well, I'm auditioning. Why? I also felt like I had a good relationship with all the casting directors, and so luck would get me in the room or just relationships. But what I've come to find out, and this is probably a good 15 years since then, that it is a necessary habit to be in front of other people, doing your craft in front of a camera, doing your craft in front of, not even in front of, but with a collective group. We teach improv. It amazes me how many people in class are like, oh, and I booked that thing. And they hadn't booked in so long, but it was because they were constantly in this place of looseness and freshness and exploring and being seen and not being judged in those types of settings, to where when it does matter when you're in front of a camera, you still feel comfortable and confident. But it takes a while, because even after a drought, even after the pandemic, people came back and they were very much in their heads. So it is a constant desire of mine to be completely present in every single moment with this industry, because this industry, we think that it's either, oh, man, that one role that I did back then, that could have been the thing. Well, it isn't. So what do you do now? Or, well, when I book this guest star role or recurring, series regular, which a series regular would be recurring, then it'll finally burst open. But what about now?
Yeah.
What about today? And how can you be fulfilled today without having your whole entire world feel like it's teetering? You talk about this, Matt, of like, I don't know what scientific thing it is, but where you have a ball kind of resting in the center, or if you have the ball precariously on top of a rolling thing. I mean, it's very precarious.
Yeah.
But when you are present, you're present.
Yeah. That she's talking about stable equilibrium versus unstable.
Thank you.
Stable equilibrium is like placing a golf ball at the bottom of a bowl, where you move that golf ball any direction and then let go. It'll very quickly sort of come back to its starting point. You flip the bowl upside down, you try to balance that golf ball on top, assuming that it's like spherical, or balance a golf ball on a basketball. That's unstable equilibrium. You can do it. You can balance it. You can even balance a golf ball on a golf ball. But you touch that top ball and it'll fall off, never come back, at least not without you doing something. And as a character, and certainly in improv, you want to cultivate this, in my mind, this more of leaning towards the unstable equilibrium. Not that you're insane, but just that your emotions are so accessible to you that the slightest impulse from your partner starts to lead you down a new path, and that you're not so sort of protective of your center that you are trying to hold on dearly for that. In real life, you could argue that stable equilibrium is a way of making it through life. And which I think circles right back to what you're saying, which is, if in life, to manage life, if I have to try to cultivate this stable equilibrium, because that's what my therapist is trying to help me do, that's what my anti-anxiety meds are helping me do, right? We're trying to do that. There's so much darkness in the world and news stories that will send us down those paths and doom scrolling, blah, blah, blah. So if all we're doing, if we're trying to find that stable equilibrium in our real life, and yet as an actor, I have to somehow flip that on a moment's notice and be ready to be accessible, to have now all those emotions that I'm trying to protect and hide, all those sides of me that I want to keep from the strangers of the world or these other forces of the world, and only allow the closest people in. Right, it's this paradox. And so, spoiler alert, if you are not training, then it's like avoiding the gym and expecting to, like I do the Murph challenge once a year, which is an insane exercise or challenge. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes below. But I don't start training till like a month before. So of course I barely ever even get through the challenge. And I don't even do it the way it's supposed to be done. I'm doing like the light version of it. I can't do 100 pull-ups, not in a 24-hour period, let alone an hour period. And so I'm doing these other modified things. And I think the analogy extends, which is if you're an actor who spends 11 months of the year not doing anything in terms of training for your craft, even if you've been at this for 20 years, like myself, then it's going to be like training for the Murph a few days before Memorial Day and hoping like, well, but I know the Murph, I've done it before. I'm pretty confident that once I get out there, I'm not even going to bother to stretch, or maybe I'll stretch for a couple minutes, right? You're going to hurt yourself in the physical sense. And as an actor, you're just not going to be emotionally available. You're going to wonder why this is so stressful and why it's, and then for me, for a person like myself, that will lead me to anger and frustration and resentment towards the experience or towards maybe the director, whatever. And then I'm wondering afterwards, if I have that come to Jesus moment for myself, I'm wondering, why am I even doing this? Right. And so it could just be that I was not setting myself up for success because maybe I've allowed those feelings of I should have made it by now. This industry owes me something. We know a lot of actors that can get trapped in that mindset that this is unfair and I am due something. The only thing you're due is that money after you've done the job that if it's non-union, they're holding on to it. And they've aired the thing for a month and a half already and you still, like that's the thing you're due. You're not due that booking or that launch into stardom. That was never promised. No one ever, and if someone did, sue them for that promise. That was something that you developed in your head. And so now you're placing that burden on an industry that, to be frank, doesn't care about you, not individually. And so the industry does not owe us anything individually. And so we have to reconcile that, right? That paradox between how we walk through life, what is expected of us on set, and if we're not training, then it's just going to cause this, I think, this repeated spiral every time we do book, or we'll get, this burst of joy when we book, and then it so quickly goes away. And then, like you said, now where am I finding my fulfillment?
Right. And there comes a time where the consistency of confidence has to come into play, where I would put money down that there are a lot of people who are working consistently that still don't feel confident. But the ones who have a successful career of longevity, there is a ease about them. There is I know what I'm doing. I'm not feeling like I could screw this up at any moment. You are a collaborator at that point. And that's a really hard place to get to if you aren't practicing.
There's a Michael Caine interview that went around the internet, so a lot of people have probably seen it, where he's talking about doing crappy movies. And so like there's the one actor who's maybe reached that Michael Caine status, and so you kind of have to adjust this for your own lot in life, where you are as an actor. But the point, I think, is still relevant for all actors. He's talking about like one of his contemporaries might be holding off, waiting for that prestige film, not The Prestige, which he was actually in, but like that Oscar bait. Some actors would, and so they would turn down the fluff, the popcorn movie, the one that's not the A-list director, and so then the next one comes around, they turn it down, Michael Caine accepts it, and it flops, right? Flop after flop, and then the Prestige movie comes around again, the prestigious movie, not the actual Prestige. And Michael Caine has been working steadily, and so he's ready for that big opportunity. He's not going to poop the bed with that Oscar bait because he has been getting the reps in, whereas the actor who was too good for those B movies or those popcorn movies. So you can sort of port this over to the beginning actor who thinks that the occasional audition, and in this season it's occasional. I still haven't had a film and TV audition since it's now going on my 7th week, which is very rare for me. And usually I'm used to one a week, even in a slow time. So if I get lulled into a sense of complacency during this drought and I'm not training, I'm not doing anything to, like you said, express my art to kind of get those reps in, then when I finally do, first of all, I'm going to like, finally, but I'm not going to be ready for it. And just to kind of, for lack of a better thing, if anybody's still watching 20 minutes into this, to toot our own horn, like, what would you say? And I'm really teeing her up for this one.
Oh, wow.
What would you say is what has been keeping us sort of well-oiled? That's a weird metaphor.
Well-oiled. We are well-oiled.
We are lubricated.
I do think that being a part of our improv class, we teach 2 classes a week. So we're constantly in creative mode. But then we also have our Brooke and Matt show. Yep, there it is.
I could just put a graphic on the screen.
Thanks, Mom, for making that sticker. Yeah. Woo! We just ventured out and we said, why are we waiting for permission to do the thing that we love to do? We're just going to do it. And I know that there are a lot of people that are like, well, I don't have the resources and we're not, we don't have the connections that you do. And I get that. But I think that there are other ways to stay engaged, and those can be taking a class. Those can be living life as opposed to waiting for life to happen to you. We're about to head out of town just to go get a little R&R. So for us, we need to not continue to go, or else you'll be on the other side of things where it could turn into burnout.
Yeah. And I'll toot Ja'Cory, one of our employees, his horn. I know for a while there, I'm not sure if he's still doing it because he's working a lot.
Yeah.
But he would get on like I don't know if it was Zoom or how he would do it with friends that were on the West Coast, and like memorize 70 pages of a play, not because they were going to perform it, but just to get the reps in, just to challenge themselves with script analysis and memorization and making choices and being each other's sounding board for no cost whatsoever, finding those scripts online and just doing it with friends.
Yeah.
And so for every excuse you have, there is a solution in terms of how to get those reps and how to keep your machine well oiled.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of a pithy, overused quote, but don't be ready so you don't have to get ready. And because if you're just sort of kicking the can down the road, and I know every acting teacher, probably in America, certainly in the Atlanta area right now, is feeling what we're feeling, which is this weird paradox of it's slow. And so you would think this is when people would train. But for whatever reason, and I do get the psychology of this, I think, but it's still a little bit of a head scratcher because on paper it makes no sense. It's slow. So this is when presumably everyone would have more time to train, and yet it's the opposite. And if I were to sort of try to put myself in the shoes of the actor who is avoiding training, it might just be that there is a malaise or a depression or a negative outlook of like, well, I don't even know if I can continue with this if the industry is going to be so slow. And people ask us virtually every day, like, so Matt, Brooke, what do you think is it over? Like, it's like everybody's Chicken Little, the sky is falling. And so I get that in that doom and gloom state, maybe the last thing you're going to do is put your money towards training. But now you're going to put yourself in the situation of course, it's going to come back. Not to the levels of 2021. Everyone is saying that. So by now you should understand that it's impossible in the current scheme of things for us to see the amount of activity that we did back in 2021, 2022, at least here in Atlanta. But it will get back. It's already coming back. It's already starting to get better. And I feel like it's going to continue on that trajectory. And so you don't want to be in that situation where suddenly you're back to 2 auditions a week and you feel rusty.
Yeah,
And
or
then,
you can't handle it because you are feeling like you're so out of practice that you're getting distracted with everything because the habits that you've built in your downtime, scrolling, playing video games, doing the things that we to self-soothe are going to be the practice that we bring into those auditions. And we're going to get distracted really easy. We're going to get frustrated really easy because we're going to put so much hope in that one opportunity that we're not being present.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many other sort of side topics. Something that our friend Joe Town likes to say a lot, how we do small things is how we do all things, which is tied right into the James Clear's work of Atomic Habits. And then there's another book that I think I probably read on Joe's recommendation called Deep Work. And it's this idea that and I'm pointing to myself, Matt, am like physically incapable of deep work. And that's just like being in a task for long enough to really get into flow, to be able to do a single task for 90 minutes without checking your phone, without taking that break to do something technology oriented. We have been hijacked by the algorithm in such a way that from that sort of core physiological standpoint, it is nearly impossible for the average human to spend more than 10, 15 minutes on a task without naturally just feeling everything in you pulling you away. And that is a liability for an actor where you're going to be on set for 10 hours and you don't have to be like in the zone if it's an AutoZone commercial. There's managing your resources based on what the output is going to be. And but even on that commercial where it's a little bit more fluff, fun, if you don't have the ability to go to set without your phone, wow, then how do you expect to really be focused and present?
Oh, but Matt, I might be getting that phone call for another audition. I might have another C-mail.
Oh my gosh. Really?
Because
You should check your phone right now and see.
No, I won't. But that's the kicker, right? Like you're doing the thing that you have been asking, God to give you, and yet you're looking for the next thing already. That's where I try not to bring my phone to set. Book. Yeah. I worked on a set with someone who actually brought their newspaper, and I thought that now here we are.
How old school is that? Yeah, I love that.
And she wasn't old school, that's for sure.
So Brooke's checking her clock, so we must have to be. I just called you out.
You did. I just got distracted by technology.
But we are approaching, getting close to a half an hour, which a lot longer than we thought. But clearly, like this type of topic could go on forever. We're not going to go on forever. But I think just to leave everyone with. I don't know if it's going to be optimism or if it's just more of like the summary of this. First of all, honor where you are mentally in this current state of the industry. If you're watching this in November of 2025, but anytime it's slow, and even when it's going like guns a-blazing for the overall market, there are of course many actors that haven't seen an audition in 3 months. There's always ebbs and flows for every individual actor. So honor where you currently are. Don't feel like the industry has passed you by or is going to pass you by. That sort of FOMO can eat you alive. But to control your controllables, which I think is what my friend Alex Collins says, what are the things you can control? And your instrument is one of those things. Your ability to do deep work, to focus on something for more than 5 minutes. Most of you didn't make it through the end of this video, understandably. But also, if you did, you're probably washing the dishes or going for a walk or doing something else, because we could not be expected to sit still for 30 minutes and focus on one task. Most of us can't even watch a television show or go to a theater without checking the phone partway through that experience. So there are things that are within your control to deepen your ability to be focused on something, to do training, to get with friends and do stuff on your own, so that when things do start to improve for you individually, you're not scrambling to start training or start coaching, starting to cram for the test, so to speak.
Yeah.
That you actually feel like, okay, yes, finally, it's starting to happen, but also I'm ready.
Yeah.
I've been here and I am ready. And like Brooke said, if you are in Atlanta, we do improv classes. As we approach the holidays, things are sort of winding down, but as we go into the new year, we'll definitely be ramping everything back up. We also do the Sam Christensen image process, which is a phenomenal way to become more efficient as an actor, because by learning how casting sees you, how to essentially cast yourself, to know how you would cast yourself, to know what happens when you walk into a room or you show up on a self-tape, that is an invaluable sort of knowledge base to know yourself before you ever get feedback, so that you don't waste your time or your money. You get better headshots. You understand the relationship with casting so much better, which makes your agent love you so much better. So we do have opportunities to train here. I get taped. Also, the Sam Christensen image process is done virtually as well, so we can reach anybody for that. But that's just us. No matter where you are, there are other options for training. And but start with us. Any final words, Brooke?
Video. Just the goal is, in this day and age, be present as much as you can. It's hard, and I get it.
What did you say? I wasn't listening.
Oh, you weren't listening. It's fine. But all joking aside, I feel like I want to put a challenge out there, and I'm saying this to myself. I'm going to go and do something where I can get in a state of flow and not check my phone for at least a half an hour.
Yeah. And again, if you don't know what flow is, check it out. Like, just research flow. There's a guy who has like a 7-syllable last name that I can't pronounce that wrote sort of the book on it, if you will. But if you've ever had a runner's high, that's flow. If you've ever sat and done a puzzle, like a 1,000-piece puzzle by yourself or with a friend, and you didn't realize that 2 hours just went by, that is flow. And it's a euphoric state, if you will, and we actually crave it as humans, and yet we spend so little time actually achieving it. So yeah, look it up and challenge yourself, and drop us a comment below if you have any other thoughts on it, or if you want to learn more about us. And we'll end it there. And this time I'll say it.
Okay,
That's
great.
it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.